Welcome to the UAE.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the Sadaf. I saw the car and it is genuinely beautiful, understated, and for people who know what it is, it stands out at the same time. But moving on to the general design of Range Rovers, when I saw the new Range Rover for the first time, the first comment I said, this is not a car, it's jewelry. And it's modern, minimalist luxury. How do you see that transcending through the entire portfolio of all cars in the Range Rover fleet and for the next product as well?
I'll take that compliment, by the way.
You should.
First of all, I think it already has transitioned through the whole fleet, because if you think of the Range Rover, which sits right at the top, I wouldn't call it minimalist, but it's not a bad description. It's modernist, and what I mean by that, it is reductive. It's pared right back. There isn't a line on it you don't need to have, and that's come through an iteration of generations of Range Rover. But if you look at the Range Rover Sport, again, that's probably equally reductive, because it was done probably about a year after the current Range Rover. And then even vehicles like the Velar, again, which is very reductive. In fact, Mr. Tata worked with us on that one, because he's a big fan of our sort of modernist design strategy. He trained as an architect, of course.
Right, yes, he did.
And then even Evoque, the last generation Evoque compared to the original Evoque is more, each time they become more reductive, but it's still Evoque because it's got the falling roof line, the rising belt line. So they all sort of have that reductive approach, but they all have their own unique characters. But that DNA is intrinsically there from Range Rover too, whether it's usually the continuous belt line and the floating roof, which is there on all of them. On a Range Rover, of course, it's more formal, so it has a more upright front end, it has a boat tail. On a Range Rover Sport, it's lower. The emphasis is on the driver, and you sit in it as opposed to on it, like you do in a Range Rover, and so on. And I think Velar's a combination of the two. Where do we go from here? I mean, we just keep refining. We don't look at other car designs. I'll be honest, I don't say I know the designers do look, but we have our own unique DNA, and we don't want to be like anybody else. And I think that's a key component of any luxury offering, is to be unique. And a Range Rover is peerless, and what we've realised is that there's a lot of people, special people, that they want their Range Rover, but they want their own unique version of it. But that doesn't mean to say change it. It's just maybe some little touches that, and the Sadaf is a good example of that. I think for this particular region, it looks absolutely magnificent, because those colours and what they represent in terms of the value of the culture are just so intrinsically right, and I think our clients see that instantly. So the Range Rover, it's all about maintaining the DNA of what the brand is about, and it is timeless, it is sophisticated, but it is modern. You see a lot of other luxury brands, and I don't like to criticise them, but they talk about modern, but they're not modern, they're very traditional.
Correct.
So we have a pure design philosophy for that brand, and so too with Defender and Discovery, and eventually when we redefine Jaguar, it'll be completely unique with its own set of values.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm a Jaguar owner myself, so I'm looking forward to...
How old is it? Which one?
XJL 2015.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Well, I like it. It works perfectly, so I enjoy it.
It's a good car. It's a good car. Yeah, but just think the new Jaguars will be about exuberance, absolute desirability, and think of this description, a copy of nothing. You've never seen anything like this before, these Jaguars. Just forget everything that's gone before.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to the new ones because I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. So I'm looking forward to the next design language for Jaguar.
Yeah.
Coming back to Range Rover, the Sadaf, 20 units only for the UAE region. How many other concepts like this have you planned across the world?
Well, so far this is the fifth edition.
Okay.
We did a couple of different editions in America.
Right.
We did one in Australia and one in, where was the other one? Monaco. So we're not going to do lots and lots.
Right.
But when we have an event like this where we want to come to a particular region that is special to us, we'll try and create something that is unique to that region that still maintains, still absolutely a Range Rover, but something that weaves in part of the cultural heritage of that particular region. That's what it's about. Once they're gone, that's it. That's what makes them special.
Right.
But then, of course, we do have, like we're here this week. We found that there's a lot of our clients, they want to come and they want to sort of bespoke their own.
Right.
And there's a phenomenal appetite for that. And what we try and do with that is curate something that's going to be right, make sure they don't make any mistakes.
Correct.
So that's what this is about.
Oh, it's a brilliant offering. I think perfectly fit for the region and for discerning customers for Range Rover across the world. Coming to the house of Range Rover, this setting is absolutely unique. And I think for us, it's the first time we're witnessing something like this regionally. How are you going to evolve this in the creative process down the line for the house of Range Rover, for your clients?
Well, what we've gone through in the last few years is a transformation of the business, which is about redefining it. Yeah, I mean, if I go back 5 years ago, the business was known as Jaguar Land Rover.
Right.
Which created a certain amount of confusion because Jaguar is just one brand, and incidentally it's the smallest of them in terms of its scale. And then you have Land Rover, which hides the fact that you have Range Rover, which is the most prestigious, and then equally compelling but in a different way is Defender.
Right.
So we've redefined the entity as the house of brands, which is Range Rover, Defender, Discovery, which we'll redefine in Jaguar, within what we call now JLR, which is an abbreviation. And this is all about elevating the uniqueness of these individual brands. And that's one of the things that I've been particularly focused on over the last few years.
Right.
Which means creating brand worlds for each. And what I mean by a brand world is, how does the brand turn up in terms of, how does it appear on an app, a web, in car? What do the showrooms look like? What are the values of the brand? What's the importance of heritage? What's the importance of Britishness? And what are the things that we will focus on? So, for example, for Range Rover, design is one of its key reasons for being. It was the first vehicle ever to be shown at the Louvre in Paris. For Jaguar, it will be art. It is a piece of art, literally. Interestingly, for Defender, it's going to be urban music, which is something that's quite different. And then for Discovery, it's going to be about travel. So these brand worlds that is not just about the sort of the look and feel. It's everything to do with the brand. It's the thing. It's I think automotive companies tend to think about the product and then they stick the brand on it. But actually, A true luxury brand is the brand, and
Correct.
and the products come from it. So you
Right.
create the brand, and the products come for that, rather than create the product. Then you put a brand, you know, like you stamp a, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
an animal,
Yeah,
for want of a better description, which I think is quite an old-fashioned way. And what we're trying to do is be more comparable with the way true luxury brands operate. And I'm not talking automotive. I'm talking about in the world of luxury and jewellery and leather goods, in fashion. You know, brands that we admire for their conviction and their emphasis on the connection between art and culture, and they bring it to life.
right.
Because we're not creating just modes of transport. We're not producing utility or functional or vehicles that are just there to do a functional job. I mean,
Right.
we create things that people truly desire emotionally. They don't need them,
Right.
but they desire them. Having said that, they do need them because they need them emotionally.
Correct.
Ultimately, this is about enriching our customers' lives, because you see some of the people that have been here over the past few days, and the way they talk about their cars, and their eyes light up.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Luxury has been around since time began. People have always desired luxury objects, art, whether it was them painting in the caves or creating individual pieces of jewelry or sculpture. It's something that is very special, and that's what we're trying to do. And it isn't anymore about competing with the competition. It's not about building volume. It's about building equity in the value of these brands, but ultimately giving people something that's really special.
Right.
Through every touch point.
Right.
So, how does the Range Rover House dovetail into that? Rather than we have our normal interface with our consumers through our dealer networks, etc., which over time will change massively, be massively different. But the sort of the brand houses are all about creating an environment that projects what the brand values are all about. Now, this is a great place, it's a great location. Is it a true manifestation of what Range Rover is in terms of its aesthetic? No, because to do that we'd actually have to build a house from scratch.
Yes.
So eventually we will, but what we do at the moment is we select particular locations first, and then homes which at least represent certain values, and here it is about being contemporary, and then we curate them, and then we invite the customers. But it is in its infancy. I'm in most automotive design businesses, you tend to have somebody like me and he has a group of car designers.
Right.
I have a group of product designers, architects, digital designers that are looking at every touch point of the brand, and we're just in the process of building that up, and we create our brand codes, so that defines each brand in every touch point. But as I say, a lot of that it's in its infancy. Why haven't we done this before? Good question. I asked it to myself. I think it's the way the world is moving, and if you want to be truly differentiated, you've got to put the emphasis on the brand and not just the products.
Right.
Because products on their own, that watch didn't have that brand stamp to it, you wouldn't want it, would you?
True. Very true. Yeah, it stands out for its brand.
But it has to be done with integrity. It can't just be,
Either or.
Yeah, it can't just be clever marketing.
It has to be cohesive.
It has to be real, tangible.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. 100%. So, Like you said, you're redefining touch points, which will happen step by step across your dealer network, across the places where customers come and then figure out which part of the brand they want to be in. It's Range Rover, it's Defender, or it's...
Well, no, Defender is a separate brand, please.
So when the customer comes into a touch point, it could be a showroom, but they're coming with a thought process whether they want to be a Discovery customer, they want to be a Defender customer, or they want to be a Range Rover customer. And they selectively...
But ultimately, we could argue that we will have our own, not straight away, this will take time.
Right.
But ultimately, we need an environment which is separate
from everybody else, which is the
separate
perfect...
from the house of brands, because we're trying to pull them apart. And for Jaguar, for example, we will, when we launch, probably have boutiques that are just Jaguar, that are, you know, right in the centre of major cities where other luxury brands are, non-automotive. So, and when we have brands in the same building, we will present them in a way that you can't, they're separate, different entrances.
Definitely. So it's a different experience altogether.
Yeah.
Which is how I imagine it to be. Well, when you were telling me the story, I just imagined it to be separate.
So if you take, for example, you know, the word modernism, how does that turn up for Range Rover? It is this very sophisticated, reductive approach that has certain values in its aesthetic, whereas Defender is much more of a modernism that's much more... Brutal is a term we use that reference, you know, brutalist architecture, but it's much more about its incredible durability and the materials, the material finishes you use. The architectural elements are different, and in the same way Jaguar is much more about exuberance. So the architecture, you probably wouldn't find it anywhere at the moment, but think of Jaguar in an artistic sense, in the way we'll present it. You think of painters like Rothko or modernist painters that were very painterly, that nobody presents a vehicle like that. So that's something that I think is going to be very exciting.
Definitely, I'm looking forward to that. What inspires you most as a creative personality?
Good question. Good question. I continue to... When I first came into this business, it was all about the car.
Yeah.
I used to just love drawing cars. But then over time, the interest started to get wider, and that curiosity hasn't stopped. So for me, I find inspiration, a lot of it completely outside of automotive. You know, whether it's painters, sculptors, photographers. You know, I'm always buying books and reading different, well, you know, a lot of these books are purely visual. Some of them are written, but at the moment, one of the books I'm sort of, I can't put down is it's about a guy called George Lewes, who was an art director in the 60s in the advertising world.
Right.
And it's fascinating how he changed advertising in America from something that was very boring and generic into something that was incredibly powerful. And he talks about how the dynamic of the different disciplines, which in some respects is comparable with, I suppose, any creative sort of environment where you've got different types of people. You know, in the advertising world, you had the art director, the creative, the drawer. You had the wordsmith, who was the copywriter, and then you had the account director, who actually interfaced with the client, who wanted the advertising. And the art director didn't even get to see the client, and the art director was directed by the copywriter, and he changed it completely round. And you ended up with a much better result and a far more successful business. So yeah, I'm continually looking at art and design, in all architecture as well, in all its manifestations.
That's definitely the way to
I go to bed
forward,
with
yeah.
a book at night. I'm a bit sad.
No, I think that's the right way to do it after everything else.
Yeah.
So, but perfect. I think that was good. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Congratulations on the house, or Range Rover House is the right way to put it, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations, beautiful setup.
It's an evolution, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You know,
it is.
it's a real privilege for us to be able to do events of this nature, and then just bring our customers out here and experience. You know, get to know our customers a lot better
Right.
in a more intimate environment, in an
Right.
environment that we believe portrays the image of what Range Rover is and
Right.
our new house of brand structure.
Right.
And it's really been something special. The customers have been happy, I think.
Right.
You know, the influencers, Instagram people that have been out here have been absolutely blown away. So
Well, it is definitely spectacular in its entire design, thought process, the design team down, the studio, everything. How is this going to come into the showrooms is what I want to see.
Well, we've already started.
Okay.
You know, it's an evolution.
Right.
I don't think anyone would say it's a revolution.
Right.
You know, brands evolve and they evolve over time, and we've taken a brave step forward in terms of what we're doing. So when you walk into a showroom now, you won't be sitting down at a desk opposite a salesperson.
Right.
You'll be engaging in a conversation on a couch.
Correct.
You'll be walking around. The people helping you will be learning about you as an individual, listening to what your needs are, as opposed to saying, here's a car, please buy it.
Right.
And that takes time. I don't think we should be naive to think it's going to happen overnight.
Correct.
But as I say, it's an evolution, but it's an evolution that is happening very fast.
Yes.
You know, and the reason it has to happen fast is the nature of our clients are people who live in a very rapidly changing environment.
Right.
They expect change, they expect dynamism from a brand, and that's what they want. So we'll should I say, they'll come along for the ride with us and we'll go with them. You know,
You're holding hands with each other, leading each other on in a way, I would say.
yeah, I think we learn from our customers
yeah,
very
yeah.
definitely. You know, styles change. Our head designer, Gerry McGovern, is very proactive in that space.
Correct.
Driving the right agenda, looking at future trends versus where we are now, but also listening to what customers want. You know, we've had some customers wanting detailing on motor vehicles that we haven't seen before.
Right.
You know, and it's not unique to us, but for us, you know, we are able to provide what they want.
Correct. Building that trust, building the relationship is always very important for a brand like Range Rover to evolve into the luxury house it's becoming, rather than just a motor vehicle provider.
Correct.
How are you going to segregate between Defender, Discovery, and then Range Rover? How are you going to create that atmosphere? Yes, I can imagine Range Rover being a separate showroom or a boutique by itself. But how do you differentiate Defender and Discovery in the same space then?
Well, I think all three will be in a space in certain markets. There will
Right.
be markets where we will have a boutique type approach. But you know, as an organisation, we are now set up under what we call a house of brand structure,
Right.
where we have Defender, Range Rover, Discovery, and Jaguar.
Right.
And each facility we will adapt so that it best represents the brand in that space. So you may find in a showroom a slightly different variance of how it feels to be a Range Rover customer to be treated. But to say we're going to have a Defender facility and a separate facility for Range Rover and a separate facility for Discovery is not the case.
Okay.
Or Jaguar for that matter.
Okay. So there will be small changes, but at the same time, definitive changes to be able to differentiate the brands.
I think there'll be cosmic changes.
Okay.
You know, they will change, and they are changing.
Okay.
We recently opened a fantastic facility in Vietnam.
Right. Okay.
You know, state-of-the-art, new house of brands. We're about to do the same in the UAE.
Okay.
And we have some incredible facilities within our region in Qatar.
Right.
State-of-the-art. You know, even in places like Iraq.
Right. Okay.
Where you wouldn't expect it.
Yeah,
You know, we've been able to transform the modern luxury definition, the brand, the feeling, into the showroom in difficult parts of the world.
Which is very good.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you about the other products is, when is electrification coming in for the Range Rover? Because they were supposed to, I think, bring it out this year, give or take, or 2025, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, look, electrification for all brands is key.
Right.
You know, I think when you're launching an electric product, you have to make sure that it's right.
Right.
You can imagine taking an electric vehicle into the desert, or putting it in a half a meter of water or 0.75 of a meter in water and having a bit of a problem if it's not properly engineered.
Correct.
So the engineering and the design of those vehicles will be class leading in many respects.
Right.
We've started to take expressions of interest for the Range Rover EV, and the vehicle will be coming towards us. I think we've stated globally the timing on it and what our intentions are. But we need to make sure that product is right, because you only get one chance, and a Range Rover is a Range Rover.
Yeah.
You know, so if I get out of my Range Rover PHEV, or I get out of my V8 into my electric Range Rover, there should be no change.
Right.
In terms of the experience, in terms of the performance, in terms of what is required of that particular vehicle.
Absolutely correct on that. You guys have it. Thought process is correct. So looking forward to the electric version of the Range Rover soon. Now, when it comes to the Defender, your acquired Bowler, and they're the performance division for you guys now. When are we seeing that kind of product coming into market? Is there something coming? Because that would be very exciting.
Well, I think if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Well, I'm looking like Bond right now.
Look, Defender is a brand that's been around since 1948.
Right.
You know, it is the icon in terms of off-road performance, in terms of vehicle performance, and our recent definition of the brand has made this car extremely popular globally. You know, just in terms of the Middle East, we are selling way more vehicles than we'd initially anticipated. I'm not going to give you the numbers, so don't ask. But the challenge for us is to make sure that what we deliver is consummate with what the brand is set out to deliver.
Right.
Yes, we are working on product, on future product, exciting future product, make no mistake. And yes, we do utilize the skills and services of the engineers, the teams that we've brought in, organizations that have become part of us to deliver on what we need for that brand to be successful.
Right.
What we cannot afford to do is we cannot afford to do a job half-heartedly.
Absolutely.
We can't take the car to some tune-up facility who says I can change your chip and I can do this and I can do that. You know, and it's not only about performance. It's about what the brand stands for. You know, if we to raise suspension, are we to put wider tires on, different body kits? You know, how does it look? Is it consummate with what our customers want?
Correct.
Because a Middle Eastern customer may want a very different looking vehicle to one in the US. And it's making sure that we define what is right for the market.
Correct.
And the performance needs to be consummate with that, as does the price.
Okay.
You know, it's the easiest thing in the world to push up the price significantly. And effectively make sure that car is, you can put a V8 supercharged whatever in, that isn't going to make sense.
Right.
We've got to be sensible about it. You know, it's a commercial proposition at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's a commercial proposition that has to work for us.
Moving on, I was reading that in our region, you end up selling more of the premium offering than the budget offering. Is that true?
I think the nature of the Middle Eastern client is a more is a higher end product, is a higher end customer. You know, people have a lot more disposable income here than they do in many other parts of the world. The taxes, the import taxes are significantly lower. So I think we're able to reach a far greater part of a wealthy populace.
Correct.
Yes, we do sell high specification cars. I won't deny that. But there's a demand for them in the region.
Right.
I look at the enthusiasm and the passion of many of our customers. You know, I've been with the company 29 years.
Okay.
And there are customers that I was meeting this weekend that make my knowledge of our products look amateur. You know, so these are people who are well educated, well read, and they understand what is required. We do offer products right across the range, you know, and everyone thinks Defender, everyone thinks Range Rover. There are other products within the range that we effectively use, and we will continue to broaden our base.
Okay.
You know, it's important for us, and there's segments of the market that we are looking at that could provide us with opportunity in the future.
Right. Jaguar, what's happening with
Let's
it?
talk about it. So it's public and common knowledge that Jaguar will be our first all EV brand.
Right.
We made that decision about 3 or 4 years ago.
Correct.
And we've communicated that to our customers, to our shareholders, to our partners. It's exciting, but once again, I go back to the point that I made earlier. The car needs to be right and it needs to deliver on what our customer expectations are.
Correct.
That segment of the market is developing very, very quickly.
Right.
And what I mean by developing is not developing as in volume, but in terms of technology.
Correct.
And we need to be at the forefront of the technology in terms of driving that. We have some exciting product. Don't ask me what it is, but I will say that it will be top end.
Okay.
So we are not going to be looking for extensive volume.
Right.
It's going to be niche modern luxury, and it will appeal to a broad populace in terms of the vehicles that our customers live and drive in at the moment.
Okay. So I still can't say if it's a sports car, if it's
I cannot
SUV.
tell you that.
Okay.
I will say this: we will have product that delivers the desire and the requirements for our target market in that sector.
Okay. Still very broad answer, but I'll
It
take it for
is.
the moment. I'll take it for the moment.
Take it for the moment.
I'll take it for the moment.
Believe me, it's very, very exciting.
But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what Jaguar has to offer to everybody, because eventually that was a brand that was synonymous with sporty driving, with racing, and it always has that heritage
and it will continue to have it.
Okay, that definitely. I'm looking
That
forward.
might give you a hint.
Oh yeah, then I got my product description right.
Yeah.
Then.
I think you are right with what Jaguar was synonymous with,
Right.
and what the heritage of the brand is.
Right.
The one thing about our organization, both on the Jaguar side of the business and the other side of the business with the predominantly Land Rover brands, is we have always been true to what we are.
Right.
Performance vehicles, off-road vehicles, luxury vehicles.
Right.
That heritage will be shown as we go forward in terms of new product.
Okay.
And that's on both sides of the business, if I could
Right.
call them both sides of the business.
You guys have great history and heritage, like you said, racing, off-roading. And there's a ton of information that's been there in the past, which a lot of new customers don't know about. With the XK racing program, the D-Type, the E-Type,
Yeah.
off-roading, the Camel Safari, Camel Trophy.
Camel Trophy.
Yeah.
I was actually one of the few people who've been on one of the Camel
Wow.
Trophy
So
events.
How do you bring that awareness back to new customers?
So that for us is a challenge.
Yeah.
I think it's a challenge for any brand that effectively is looking forward.
Right.
Generally in life you can't look backwards.
Correct.
But you can learn from your experiences, and you can utilize that as we go forward. So what we've learned from our customers in the past, we build into our products in the future. Yes, it's a difficult. There's no silver bullet. But what we can do is we can make sure that in the design of the product and the performance of the product, we represent our heritage.
Right.
We will recognize it. We do recognize in everything we do. If you look at the current design of the Range Rover now, the 1970 design, you can still see the lines of the vehicle. You can still see the intentions, the proportions.
Right.
And it's how we effectively communicate that to now in the future. In the future, it'll be what we did now.
Yes.
That's effectively defined the
Correct.
brand. I would be lying if I said it wouldn't be great to be back in a Camel Trophy environment, or going off-roading or racing around Le Mans.
Yeah.
But we need to do what's right for the brand, and we will pick and choose what we think our customers relate to, how we relate to them, but more importantly, does that event or does that direction encapsulate the values of what the brands are about?
So, adding to that, it has been the most successful financial year for JLR in recent memory. What has changed to make sure that it was successful for JLR? What was the secret spice, I would ask?
I think our success has been cumulative over the last number of years. There are no secrets in terms of what we've published in the past and what we've recently said. Our business is about product and relationships. You have great product and you have good relationships both with your importers and with your customers, you will do well.
Right.
You know, product. Someone once said to me when I joined the industry 33 years ago, someone once said to me, we got great product, we got a great company, you know, but it's beyond that now. Companies are far beyond just product, and our organization as a whole has undergone a massive change in terms of mindset, in terms of the way we work, in terms of breaking down pillars, you know, integrity within the organization. And we've also had a tremendously supportive parent. You know, they took control of the company in 2008.
Right.
And, you know, we have delivered for them, and they have continually been supportive of our performance and will continue to be so as we go forward. I do go back to the fact we have great product at the moment in the right place, in the market. It's desirable. And
Very desirable.
And when you got desirable product,
Yeah.
you do well.
Oh, it's definitely desirable. You see more Range Rovers than ever before on the road.
That's great.
You see Defenders every other corner. There's always a waiting list for them when we go down to the showroom. So congratulations on that.
No, it's been a good thing, and long may that continue to last. But we aren't resting on our laurels.
Yeah.
You know, I think arrogance is when people rest on their laurels. And our design team, our engineers, you know, working in the UK and working here in the Middle East,
Right.
you know, are coming up with product that will satisfy future generations.
I'm looking forward to it.
So am I.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
very
And
much.
congratulations for this beautiful setup.
No, thank you, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Great.